Good morning, Mets fans, and welcome to a Thursday edition of Driving with Mr. Met. I am Mr. Met, and yesterday the Mets dropped the second game of their series with the Washington Nationals. Pretty lifeless game from the beginning, really, for the Mets. Outside of an early threat, they didn't do much offensively, and it was always going to be a mismatch with Wilmer Font on the mound. Anyway, against Patrick Corbin, but good old Wilmer didn't do a great job of keeping the Mets in the game. Bullpen did nicely last night, and I'll talk a little bit about that today, but also want to talk about the series finale this afternoon on today's show. Aside from an early offensive rally, which saw J.D. Davis narrowly miss hitting another home run off of Patrick Corbin, the Mets offense didn't do a whole hell of a lot last night against the Nationals lefty. Sometimes you just got to tip your cap. You know, a lot of people get pissed off at this and when the Mets offense falls asleep. But look, I mean, Corbin was dealing last night. He pitched 8 solid innings, not unlike the way Noah Syndergaard did the night before. So, you know, you got to just sort of accept that this is baseball and it happens. You know, no team wins 162 games. And every now and then you run into a pitcher who has his best stuff and takes you out of the game. And that's what happened last night. It didn't help, as I sort of alluded to in the opening, it didn't help that the Mets had Wilmer Font on the mound for them. And, you know, a classic mismatch with barely a fifth starter against one of the better starters in the league in Corbin. So, and Font did not have a real good showing. He was unable to locate his pitches. He ended up giving up a ton of runs early and just put the Mets behind the 8 ball. And you know, it was an insurmountable. It wasn't an insurmountable lead, but Corbin was so good that it really was. So the Mets ended up losing 5-1. You know, it is what it is. The Mets can't win them all. I do have to say, though, it was nice to see the Mets bullpen come into the game and lock things down. And that was the trio of Drew Gagnon, or Gagnon, if you will, Tyler Batchelor, and the returning Jeurys Familia. It was good to see those 3 guys come in and put up scoreless frames, keeping the Mets in the game, but more importantly, just sort of showing that the Mets bullpen is not as bad as the Nats bullpen. And that's what I took from last night, more than anything else. Just the Mets bullpen was able to shut down the Nationals completely, and kept them off the board. And that's what they needed. And you know, the offense couldn't reciprocate, but it was nice to see the Mets bullpen put up zeros without having to go to Seth Lugo or Robert Gsellman or Edwin Diaz. So that was my positive takeaway. I don't have any game balls or goats from last night. I mean, it was just a game. So I mean, nobody to blame. It was what it was. So the Mets split the series so far with the Nats. The third and final game is this afternoon, 1:05 start. Zach Wheeler on the mound for the Mets, so hopefully, and I think Anibal Sanchez is on the mound for the Nationals. I think Anibal Sanchez is like 63 years old now. He just seems like he's been pitching forever. But I think he's on the mound for the Nats today. So hopefully the Mets can take the rubber game of this series, go back to 500 before they head home for the weekend set with the Tigers, which I think is this weekend. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's next weekend and the Mets go to Florida after this. I honestly don't remember. And that's terrible of me, but I didn't look before I recorded it, and I'm not sure if it's home to New York for the Tigers or away to Miami for the Marlins. But no off day, so this is, I think, the third consecutive of 20 consecutive games that the Mets will play across 20 days. So no rest, no off days. So hopefully the Mets got their rest on Sunday and Monday this week with the rain out and the off day, and are ready to go for the better part of the next 2.5 weeks. So let's see what happens today with Wheeler. Hopefully he is good Wheeler and not good Wheeler, and hopefully the Mets can put up some runs to support him and take the series from the Nats. That'll wrap it up for today. A short show. That's sort of what happens when not much happens in a game the night before. But I'll be back tomorrow, hopefully, to recap the Mets series victory with the Nats. Until then, thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Follow me on Twitter at Mr_Met. That's MISTER_MET. And as always, let's go Mets.